Oh, we are live. Hello everyone. Welcome back here. Um, so, um, I'm Stefania Arca, and whether you are CEO, founders, or a consultancy, or like you just run an agency, I know that your time is precious, and therefore I really want to thank you for joining me today. Um, so today the topic is always about project management. For whoever doesn't know, I mean, I am running a project management agency, which is called International Exit Strategy. And our mission is just like to help you in delivering projects in the best way possible, as a workflow, as a relationship with your clients, as a teams members that want to keep working with you. And therefore, like your reputation is going to increase because the people are just going to trust you. They want to come back to you to work with you. Team members want to just stay in your companies. And if tomorrow you want to have an exit, you are ready to exit wherever you want. This is the main goal of our international exit strategy. So let's not waste other time here, and let's move directly to our topic for today. So today we're going to talk about project, and more specifically, this live is what you need to know when you write a project. So this is gonna be like our guide for 2025 and 2026 as well, because we are almost there. So let's start immediately with our slide, as always. So this live is how do you write, as we were saying, the title is how do you write a project. And our goal today is going to be writing down a project that delivers real result instead of creating more chaos. What do we actually need to do for achieving this result? So this live is going to be for you if you are delivering complex projects or services and want like less chaos in your delivery process, and at the same time you want more outcomes. At the same as well, this live is dedicated if you're scaling fast, or you are managing teams and stakeholders and want clarity instead of handleless firefighting. Again, this live is for you if you are influencing people, or like you are like a lead project and actually want a system and not just tools and theory. So if you want every project to have a purpose, measurable finish, and concrete lessons, today you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you are if you're looking for some software tutorials, this live is not for you, because I'm not gonna show you any softwares today. This isn't about any specific tools, but it's more about the framework for leadership and clarity that you might follow for your project. And at the same time, if you're not managing, if you're not collaborating, and if you're not delivering project, maybe you're working on products, okay, this life is not for you as well. This session is about transforming how top leaders create real project impacts in their work. Let's move forward because we have a lot to talk about today. So let's see, first of all, the definition of a project. And I put also brief because we need a brief for every project. If we want to be successful, we need a brief. So a project, it's not something for creating more work, but usually it's the phase that comes before a product. So just for saying, the process more or less is going to be this one. A client has an idea, and the idea, it's everything abstract. And I actually want to see if this idea can just become something real, and in the future became also product to market. So the project is the phase between the idea and the actual product that you are going to market in the next future. Could be next year, next 2 years, and something like that. So it has a start, it has a specific end, and at the same time, we need to have specific delivers, and the outcome needs to be measurable. If we do not have any of these three requirements, we can't really talk about a project. So I repeat once more, we need a clear start, we need an explicit end, and at the same time we need delivers, specific delivers, and measurable outcomes. So just think like launching a new service. You need like onboard the clients or delivering an internal system. All of these might be something that you need to measure inside your project. So here on the slide, I wrote down that strong projects in reality are not only a matter of what kind of tool you're using, of like admin stuff, as I like to call them. Strong projects are actually leadership acts and not admin queries. So if you are one of them that is reducing all this concept about the project as admin queries, you are just stripping out the strategy, the vision, and the accountability to make them matter. Because in reality, I mean, busy work creates some kind of wall that is going to be difficult to climb, while leadership is the one that builds real result. So let's move forward. What we're gonna see in this live, we're gonna see what is a brief. We're gonna see our framework, step-by-step system for talking about a project and write down a project. And then in a nutshell, I mean, there's going to be like the final conclusion about this topic. Here we are. So what is actually a brief? A brief is something that many times is not taken in consideration. People are not giving the right priority to the brief. And therefore, we are going to see next that if you're going to skip this step, it's more like that there's going to be some kind of a misalignment, a misunderstanding, something that is going to create a conflict inside your delivery process. So what is a brief? A brief is a project document, or like could be also a set of information that it's used like for summarizing all the things that are gonna define a project. So we're talking about goals, scope, who are the stakeholders, and what are the client expectations. And it's gonna be like the starting point that is allowing everyone to be aligned to whatever direction we need to take, because I mean, we know that we can have thousands of ways for creating a project or so on. And if we want to make our client happy, we need to properly understand what is their ideas. And the brief is the document that is going to summarize all this information. Should it be, it doesn't, sorry, I repeat. It doesn't necessarily needs to be always written. Of course, having a written document is going to be the best practice because it's going to avoid the misunderstanding in the future, like create any kind of disalignment, but when someone said that I thought this idea instead of what you're suggesting here. So, I mean, having something written that later on, I mean, while we are delivering in our project, we can keep coming back and double checking if we are moving in the right direction. It's always the best practice. But in a reality, usually if we are talking about a small project or of informal project, sometimes the brief it's a simple spoken verbally discussion. In this case, as I was saying, like the risk is just like people are gonna interpret it differently, and it can just end up in confusion. So even if it's gonna be something very concise, I really recommend to write down like a few lines, one page of document, but something that is there, it's black and white, and everyone have access to it. So what should include the brief? The brief should include like the definition of the objects. So what the project actually must achieve. For instance, are we doing this project because we want to increase the sales? If we are in a marketing project, for instance, or like if we are launching a new product, who is addresses to, etc. Why are we actually launching the product? As well, like the brief should include like what kind of target this project is addressed to. So identify the target and the final users that are going to use the product, because we know that every product has to be used by others. So we need to take their feedback in mind every time that we are actually developing our project. As well, like in the brief, we need to specify or clarify like the main requirements. So is this project something for like a functional purpose or aesthetic, decorative purpose, or again, it can be also mainly something technical. I mean, it could be also only that. And as well, I put also like establish constraint and resources. So we need to have in mind clearly like a budget, timelines, materials, or technologies that may help us. Availability of the team, of course. If something of this information is missing, we are we are missing a piece of the puzzle. So keep in mind. Okay, I just put it double. Sorry, my mistake in the slide. So I just add here a little of example. So a brief, for instance, for an architectural project is just an initial document where the client describe their expectations. So for instance, like if we have to build a home, how many rooms should this home have? Because maybe if they have one kids, or if they have 3 kids, the numbers of room is going to change. What is the budget that the client is expecting to invest in this project? What are the desired styles in terms of type of architecture? Should be an open space, should be something traditional. I mean, the kitchen is going to be more important than the living room. There's going to be so many questions that we can ask our clients, and so on. Why, for instance, like a briefing in a marketing project might simply explain what is the message that the marketing should spread, the target, so what is the audience that this message should be addressed to, and also like what kind of channel should we use for our marketing. And so as you can see, like the brief is just if we need to go like left, or if we need to go right, or if we need to go slower, and so on. So this is important for then writing down how it's going to be our project, because we need to know all of this information before doing any move. So the brief is something that you can't skip. And now let's move on to the system, the step-by-step system that we use for writing down a project. So first of all, you just need the clarity about the business justification, because we know now, and if you haven't followed any of my lives, I'm going to repeat it once more. Every project has to have a business justification always verified. Why? Because we need to make sure that at the end of the day, the project is going to bring some kind of benefit to our client, to the business, to whoever is asking to start that project. Because we are always going to have some kind of benefit and some kind of disbenefit. In the moment where the disbenefit are going to be more than the benefit, maybe it's going to be the time to consider it, to close down our project earlier. It could happen. It's a part of the game, because we know that every project actually it's a risk. I know that sometimes people get stubborn and they want to keep on going because something is going to change, the market is going to raise again, anything like that. But you need to face reality, and every time you have a maybe, you need to consider it a no. You can move forward only if you have a yes. So if for some reason, and it always happens something like that, your benefits are going to change through the process of the program, you can also close the project if you are like 90% complete and you're missing only 10%. If, for instance, like you are in this situation and the benefits just turn into this benefit, I mean, it's better to consider to close earlier the project and moving resources, time, budgeting, and so on somewhere else in another project that maybe can bring more benefit to the company. And this is exactly why it's so important in every project life cycle to keep in mind the tracking and monitoring of all these steps. The business justification might change during the project, but always needs to be positive. So coming back to our slide, our first step, make sure the business justification is clear and it's positive. So some questions that you might ask yourself are going to be like, why are we actually doing this project? Why now, and why has the priority compared to the project number 2? So something that you can double check for replying to these questions, I just put like business priorities, what is going to be the ROI, sorry, and client impact, internal leverage as well, and so on. I mean, this is quite generic because every project is unique and every management needs to be tailored for the project itself. So if you want to have more information about this part, please book a discovery call on my LinkedIn. You're gonna have the button like to book a call with me, or like you can also go on our website. That's gonna be www.internationalexitstrategy.com, and in the contact form you can also request our services, and we can see more specifically what you actually need for your specific project. If it's going to be an IT, the questions might be slightly different from like a construction project, from a marketing project, and so on. We are project managers with different specialties, and we know that we need to tailor our management to each project. So this part is going to be, these questions are going to be quite generic, but they give you the principle that you need to keep in mind. Step number 2 is going to be like define precise scope and what is excluded. So, you know, many times people are just going to be something like, if you're gonna ask, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? Or like, who do you want to be? People do not have a real answer to give me. So this usually in this situation, I like to use the opposite question. So I'm like, okay, if you have a problem in defining the positive, let's move to the negative. So if you cannot answer like, what do you want to do? So what should be included? Let's answer like, what should be excluded? And usually when I ask this simple question, people are going to be like generating a very long list of things that they do not want in their project. So they're going to be, oh, you know, like, I don't want this, that, and so on. And based on this information, you can always create the other part of the game. So define what is included and define also what is excluded, because it might be that later on the excluded part are just gonna be included in the project, like because life gets in the way, and because they were excluded, I mean, they might ruin the business justification, so might be a reason for close earlier our project. And the scope has to be defined before, of course, the project starts, because if we don't have the scope, we can't really move to one direction, like the correct one, the right one. Third step, just define stakeholders and team. Create like a map of who are your stakeholders and the team members that you need for achieving your project, and map it and move forward. This is exactly why in exit strategy we have also team builders, experts, so like profilers or like conflict facilitator, just for helping in the team, because we know that based on the project we need a specific skills. So maybe the resource that is available to you right now, it's missing the skills and it's not the perfect match for the outcome, for achieving the outcome you're expecting in this project. And again, as a stakeholder, so I put down our classic triad. Every project has to take in on board the feedbacks that comes from the business, the others, and the supplier. So here I wrote like a business rep for value, other rep for experience, and supplier rep for delivery. So the value, we need to take on board every feedback from the business, because that is the client is the one that had the idea. So I mean, they're gonna be just a machine. They're gonna help us in achieving better results. No, not the result, better result, like the results. And usually the business rep are going to be the one responsible for approving budget, confirming like the ROI, decide if the project actually worth in continuing or should be closed, or anything like that. It's maybe something what is usually called like the decision maker. An example could be like the project sponsor, the CEO of the business, or like even the head of the department for that specific project. Then we need to always verify also every feedback that is coming from the other for the experience, because they speak on behalf of the end users or the client that are going to buy the product. So something that they can be responsible of is just like signing off on other requirements, usability of the product, the final product, and for instance, even the satisfaction criteria. Example of this group could be like customer success manager, client liaising, or like and the other group leader. Again, as the last one in our triangle, we have like the supplier. So the supplier are actually the group of people, companies, machines that are going to produce our product when it's going to be on the market. So they are responsible for the resources, for the technical expertise, and also for the execution of the project. So they decide how the work will be delivered, what is technically feasible, what could be like some risk that we need to manage in delivery, and something like that, like and so on. Let's move forward now. In the step number 4 is going to be timeline and milestone. So here it's very important just to be realistic when we are giving our timeline and setting our milestone, because we do not want to lose the trust of our client. Here just wrote like the goal is the credibility. So you don't want that things are gonna be too slow. So I just put like sandbagging, or at the same time, you do not want to overpromise, so like things are going to be too fast and actually you can hit the goal. So the timelines are something that it's a fundamental time. You can't just buy it. Usually it's people feels like they are wasting time. So it's something that definitely you just need to take in consideration in the step-by-step system for writing down the project that actually is gonna deliver it like drama-free, how we like to call it in exit strategy. So here I just put down, for instance, like that you can have 2 weeks for the first phase, that is going to be like the setup and the audit. So for instance, you're going to have the kickoff meeting and the stakeholders alignment. You're going to start evaluating like the risk register, the responsibilities with role responsibility metrics that usually it's called RESI. So you're gonna review like the existing system, what kind of resources you have, and what kind of constraint you have as well, because of course you're never like 100% free. You always have to deal with reality, so you're always gonna have some sort of constraint. And then later on you can move to the phase number 2, where for instance here I wrote down other 2 weeks for design and draft, but it could be like also 4 weeks only in this phase 2. Here, usually you just start developing the initial concept, what are going to be like the workflow or prototypes. You also start receiving some kind of feedback that you need to listen to. And based on those feedbacks, you're just gonna refine the scope and the requirements based on, the result of experiment, let's call it like this. And then the third phase, usually it's like the implementation. So we have received some kind of feedback and now we need to improve them. So like you can run some tests, you can check like the quality, you make sure that the communications is updated to all stakeholders, so everyone are gonna be on board and they're gonna provide us with their feedback, and all of these parts are like usually the phase of the implementation. And then usually we have a last phase that I call it like review and close. So your project it's finally okay, and here you're just gonna have like you close the project, so you just do all the reports, and you just no, sorry, before closing the project, you just need to have the client and the user review and acceptance. And only when everything is accepted, you can actually close the project and having like the lessons learned for like seeing what worked and what didn't work and moving forward. Let's move to the step number 5, which is communication and feedback. So here, you just need to write down in your project what kind of communications tools you want to use for your project. So the communications, the official communication, are going to happen like on Microsoft Teams instead of Slack, instead of ClickUp, and I mean, there could be like thousands of ways. Do you want emails? Do you want like a meetup, like a catch up, or anything like that? At the same time, it's like you're just gonna set expectations in this communication. So communication can't just be like I'm sending out what kind of information I have. You need to know what to send out. I remember that like once I asked one of my team members to have a catch up. In this case, I was asking for a weekly catch up about the progress of her project. And I remember that she come back to me. I was new in that project, so she knew better like the client than I did, because she was already working with that client for like a few months, at least 6 months, if I'm not wrong. And so when I asked her like for feedback, she told me like for having this catch up, for receiving like feedback and tracking and monitoring the implementation of the project, she told me like, I don't want to set up this catch up because not always like I might have something to say every week, because sometimes like I already know that like the stakeholders or something, or someone is not gonna provide information based on the program, so I might not have any update to give you, and therefore, like she told me, I'm gonna catch up with you when I'm gonna have something to update you with. And I just couldn't accept it this way, because I just believe that if nothing happens in 1 week, I need to know why. Where is the constraint, where the process is stuck. It's our fault. We were supposed to receive some kind of information from some external stakeholders, and they didn't they are behind like the timeline. I need to know why there is no progress, because based on my program, the project was supposed to forward every week. So if something is missing, or even that one is a feedback, and we need to know it. So I couldn't accept like you're gonna update me when you have something to say. I want to know even if you don't have anything to say, because something gets stuck and we need to unlock it. So as you can see, like communication can tell you a lot, even if you're not doing anything. Like if there's not gonna be any kind of discussion, one is a feedback that right here in the slide I called read unspoken feedbacks. And so yeah, just consider everything. And I just wrote down as well, I mean, guys, communication is the base for avoiding conflict. So do whatever it takes for avoiding any type of conflict with your client, your stakeholders, your teams, anything like that. People needs to talk many times. Conflict start because miscommunication, misunderstanding, misalignment. But I thought that you were doing this part, or like okay, I need to do also this, but I have done it in this way. because I thought, no, I mean, these are all reasons for starting a conflict, and the conflict are gonna bring frustration, and it might require more time to gain trust back. Sometimes, like, even trust is broken forever, and there's nothing you can do about that. So try to avoid conflict as much as possible, and as I said, like, do whatever it takes to avoid conflict. Now let's move forward. Define success. So what actually is a success for you? What actually means done for you? I always say something like, when people say me, this is perfect, I'm always asking, perfect compared to what? Because whatever is perfect for you doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be perfect for me as well. So you need to define exactly what a successful project for you means, and what a success project means specifically in this case. People need to know black and white what success look like. Let's move forward. Last point is gonna be lessons learned. So I am such a very big fan of lessons learned. It's something that usually is not considered. People, I mean, usually there is always, like, in the server, a folder called lessons learned, and then you open it and it's completely empty. And I'm like, why, guys? Why no one has written any kind of feedback regarding this process that we are using in this project? Because lessons learned are gonna help us in improving the rest of the project if we can improve it, or in any case, it's gonna help us in improving definitely the next project that we're gonna take a board on. Because if you are CEO, just keep in mind that the people are okay if you are, I mean, there's gonna be a problem once, but if they are struggling, maybe even with their mental health, repeatedly, because the same mistakes happens over and over and over again, I mean, that is one reason why you might leave, why they might leave you. Remember that if you're hiring someone, you know that usually people are moving from one place to another one, especially after COVID, because they are looking for better conditions. And I'm not talking about money, because that is very rare, because right now in 2025, I mean, every person that I had talked to, that they told me, I'm gonna change only because of money, only if I'm gonna have like 10K more in my salary. So there's gonna be like a big gap. If for some reason the money gap is minimal, they are gonna stay where they are. They do not want to move to another company, losing benefit, losing the comfort zone, not knowing what new challenges they are going to face in new spot. So if they are moving from one company to another one, it's always because something goes wrong. And I have seen so many times people complaining because, this week, this month, today, I'm struggling with this problem, And it's always the same story. I have already solved it in the previous project, in the previous project as well, etc., etc. I'm so tired of doing overtime, get stressed, having a conflict, not feeling okay because the mistakes is repeated. This is why we have lessons learned in project management, and it doesn't need to be anything crazy. It can be like a simple word where you are going to write down what worked and what didn't work. Both of them are important. If something worked, perfect. It means that we are going to keep the same process, type of communication, tools, team member, I mean, whatever is positive, we are going to keep it in the next project. And whatever is negative, we are going to analyze it and we are going to see how to improve it in the next one. This is like one of the services that we have in exit strategies. So we are going to do like an analysis of X project that you have already done. We are going to see what worked, what didn't work, and based on that, we are going to provide you like a list of things that you need to keep and the new things that you need to improve, and also how you might improve them. So lessons learned, like please stop skipping this step. And that's it. Like our system is over. So we have seen, first of all, the brief. Then we are going to build like the 7 points of our step-by-step system with the information that we have in the brief. And just for like some reminders to you, just remember that every time we skip a piece of clarity or some sort of definition, it costs us or it costs the client like time, trust, and money. With trust, I put also power, because once you're gonna lose trust, it's very complicated to gain it back and having like new client or the client coming back in the future. So do not skip any definition, any clarity. Keep also in mind that I like to put everything down, like more information that might actually need it, because whatever is gonna be like okay for me doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be okay also for someone else, because maybe they are just the expert in another technical. So I'm thinking like external stakeholders. I need them because with my expertise, I can provide any experience in their field. So whatever is going to be okay for me doesn't necessarily mean so I can like avoid and define it because it's already in my mind. Keep in mind that other people are not able yet to read in your mind, or they might not know as well what these things actually means, because they do not have the technical knowledge for understanding you. So write everything down, define everything, and in this way you are going to save time, trust, and money. We're almost at the end here as well. Like remember that every time we do a project right, the project became easier, motivational, so it's just gonna give us a motivation for keep on going, and it's gonna be manageable, so we can actually be project managers and manage our project. So I mean, do it right for like gain or positive result at the end. And process and documentation show just respect for teams, stakeholders, and clients. As I said, like when people see like black and white, what actually we want to achieve, how we want to achieve it, everything just follow completely. So in a nutshell, like always remember to focus on what actually drives the client. That usually is gonna be like cost, the money that the client can invest. The client is the creator number one of the project. So everything spinning around clients. This is something that you can't skip. You can't just do, yeah, but I want to do this because I like it more. No, I mean, like, just for giving you an example, in architectural project, I had faced many times, like, I just, the client maybe was asking for a studio then, and they were just doing a completely a different space compared to the client requirements, because they thought that was better for the reason X, Y, and Z. Perfectly fine, but that's not what the clients want. The client feels home, feels okay, comfortable, only when, for instance, is going to have the windows at their back, so he doesn't care if like the sun is gonna go on the monitor. I mean, this is their choice. They're going to be fine, or like I don't know, painting. If they want like a red as a paint on their walls, you can't just say, I'm not gonna do red walls, I'm just gonna do white walls. That is not the client requirements, so the expectation are not gonna be successful. The client is the creator, remember it all the time. So if you write down the project and everyone are aligned of whatever is going to happen and whatever it doesn't, I mean, you can actually create a real impact. And use structure as your tool and not as your crutch. And yeah, I mean, just another reminder here, remember that the vague project kill trust, power, money, and your business as well. Because if people do not feel seen by you, they're not going to come back. And if you do not have clients, you're not going to have any business as well. And yeah, so if you need any help in in write down your project, feel free to reach us out. We said that we don't just build processes, but we build protections. We speak fluently the client language, the team language, and the timeline language as well. And our mission is just to deliver free, like trauma-free project. We say we offer multiple expertise. There are multiple people in our teams. And our motto is just like, we think like founders. So we know how important it is that the project is going to have a positive outcome for like building your positive portfolio for your next client and your next project, and allowing the business to keep on going. And we say as well that we operate like expert, because we can also manage the operational part. So yeah, if you want to have more information about our services, so you want to get in contact with us, feel free to reach us out at www.internationalexitstrategy.com. And I mean, this live is very, very long. I hope it has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a DM on LinkedIn, or just reach me out with the contact form that you can find on our website. I hope you're gonna have a lovely Friday, and see you in the next live. Bye.